Les, if you can hear me.
Hey Les, can you read lips? The problem's on your end. We don't know.
The problem is in the house.
We're not sure, but let me see. Where's our audio? That looks good. I mean, everything from our end looks like it should be okay. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
I'm Mark.
I'm Nicole.
And this is our morning show.
Candy canes, candy corn, and syrup.
Yep, those are all the basic food groups for an elf.
It is Friday the 13th.
Oh boy.
Happy Friday.
Creepy.
Let's watch a scary movie.
Let's not. What was I going to say? I don't remember.
It's the morning show.
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Hey.
We're here to do a morning show. So we have Frank Straza's marquetry course.
Oh, that's what you're working on right now.
Well, it's already out.
Oh, is it live?
Yep, it's live, but you could still get the pre-order price if you jump in there now. That will change as soon as I'm done here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in and try to figure out what I need to do for the pricing because the bundle price will change, the marquetry course will change. But right now, you can get that and Frank Straza's table together in a bundle for a very low price. The table comes out in January, but the marquetry course releases today. It's there as soon as you buy it.
You might go, well, I'll just wait for a sale next year.
Yes, it's at least a year.
We don't put them on sale.
Yeah, we don't put them on sale if it's in the same calendar year as the release. So just kind of a way to.
And you're supporting Frank.
Yeah.
Frank,
There's a video we could play as a little teaser.
Okay. Didn't we play this last time?
You know how advertising works, right?
Yeah, I know.
You guys want to let her know?
You can also rewatch the preview party from last night.
Yeah, we have that. You don't want to play the ad then?
Yeah, I'll play the ad.
Okay,
Here's the
thanks.
ad.
Hi, my name is Frank Straza. I've been a furniture maker for over 30 years. In this guild project, we're going to build this table entirely with hand tools. You're going to learn how to use multiple different type of tools, including hand saws, planes, chisels. You'll learn how to sharpen the tools, the proper technique for using them. You're going to learn hand-cut joinery, accurate layout. You're going to learn how to cut mortise and tenons by hand. You're going to learn how to cut half-blind dovetails through dovetails. You'll learn how to make a drawer fit perfectly. So many different skills by hand. For those of y'all that are hybrid woodworkers and use both machines and hand tools, I think you'll find this course very helpful. Learning and honing your hand skills is extremely important, even if you do use machines in the shop. Using hand tools can elevate your work to the next level. It gives you so much more control. Using hand tools gives you a freedom that you don't have necessarily with a machine. And oftentimes it can be faster because you don't have the setup that you would with a machine. So you may choose to do some of this project with machines, and you may want to do some of it with hand tools or all of it by hand. If you'd like to learn how to personalize this project, check out my marquetry video, also available in the Guild. We're going to delve into the world of marquetry. There's so many secrets enshrouded around marquetry, but I'm going to unlock those secrets in this course, and you're going to be able to learn how to personalize a project just like this, creating lettering with double bevel marquetry. The name marquetry means painting with wood. With this marquetry course, we're really just barely scratching the surface. There's so many different methods and techniques for marquetry. I'm going to show you the double bevel method, and we're going to just focus on how to personalize your project and create some lettering. The great thing about hand cutting marquetry is anybody can do it in any space. You don't need a big shop full of tools. You can literally do this at your kitchen table if you want. All you need is a handheld fret saw, some good blades, a little drill, a tiny little drill, and this donkey's ear or bird's mouth, which will clamp inside a vise or to your bench. This being held at an angle will allow you to be able to cut perfect cuts with 0 gaps. For more information, visit thewoodwhispererguild.com.
Well, thank you, Frank.
Frank said it for us.
He did. We don't have to say it. That's a great course, and this is one of our problems, I think, with marketing. We're not great at it sometimes. I always had this thing like, I've already said it once, it's fine. And it's like, unfortunately, advertising doesn't work that way. Anyway, the pre-order price is still there. Go to twwguild.com and you can pick that up, or woodwhispererguild.com, or thewoodwhispererguild.com.
I'm excited to have it. It's Frank's first course, so we want to
Frank's great.
Make him feel welcome.
We met him at Handworks last year. He was there with his son. His son was cutting up some veneer, and it was just inspiring to watch. My son doesn't cut veneer.
No.
What's wrong with him?
He cuts cheese.
He cuts the cheese every day, all day. So anyway, glad to have Frank in the guild.
Yeah, he's top notch. A lot of, I saw someone said that they're taking a course with him because he does a lot of in-person courses.
Yeah.
So they wanted to see his style of teaching beforehand, so they got the course.
He is one of the few guest instructors that went into each video and laid out like what's happening and talk. A lot of the instructors, they focus on making the video, but they don't do the write-up as in-depth, and it's just kind of like a quick summary. He like really put a write-up in there. I was really happy with what he did there. Before we get to questions, what do you have something to show off here?
Oh yeah. So 'tis the season, right?
Indeed.
I make a lot of ornaments around this time, and I wanted to give a little love to a very small website that I use that I absolutely adore, and I'm giving this is not a paid promotion or anything. I want to see him continue to do well.
Yeah, MacRamona.com, right? He's a good guy.
So if you're into laser, like, sometimes woodworking, laser, CNC, laser. The funny thing is, I think this probably could work with CNC too. So every year I make ornaments for the family. One year I did it was a name Christmas tree. I love personalized stuff. So this year it's a snowflake with names on it. You can see right here. I'm gonna switch it over so Mark can show you. So these are just some of the examples. And this is, so I'm not the best at design, but this website makes me feel like I can do pretty much anything. It's called Cuddle XYZ. And if you use the code CuddleFB.
Oh, this is our neighbor. Nice.
Yeah, these are,
I didn't
made these
actually
for
start
neighbor.
reading the names.
He has these great templates. So you know how we made the name signs for the teachers that one year, and it was a very manual process to do that?
Oh yeah.
He has a connected text template.
So you just pop the text in
You just
and it
pop
goes.
the text in, and then
Nice.
you download it, and then you laser it, and it's so easy. And seriously, if you are into CNC laser, check out Cuddle XYZ. And he has a lot of stuff for free. I paid for the yearly pro thing. And
Cuddle with D's or T's?
Cuddle, Cuttle.
Okay. I was going to say, otherwise it might be
Cuddle,
taken to a different site.
Cuddle.
Yeah, but isn't that with
cut,
D's?
Tool.
Right.
Yeah, it's a play on words, I think. Anyway.
I don't know what it means.
He's great. He has a lot of because he wants to teach you the tool too, where I'm just I don't want to learn that. I just want to put my names in and click download. So
Nice.
it's really a really cool tool, and I wanted to give him a little shout out. He also introduced me to the place where I get the acrylic stuff. Oh, it made me think.
No, I got to.
When are you going to stop talking?
There was a message in the guild community. No, actually, what did occur to me though is you spend almost probably twice as much time talking about someone else's website and gave me crap about playing our own ads. So you guys see how
I know.
You guys see why we have money trouble.
Yeah. We're not getting paid for any of what I'm talking about.
Anyway, continue.
So the acrylic that I used on these cute little ornaments comes from a company called CMB, Custom Made Better, and they're a small acrylic manufacturer too. So
okay.
I wanted to give them a little love too, because I've just been using their stuff.
Good deal. That's great.
Hey, we got questions.
Yeah, we have questions.
Forget about that.
First of all, if you're here watching live, submit a question in the chat. Nicole will most likely be able to grab it, and then we'll answer it live. I also have some pre-selected questions from Patreon, and that's at patreon.com/woodwhisperer, or right here on YouTube. You can join the members area.
Let's just ask the question I started. We're going to come back to it, Les.
Yeah, so each week I put up a post in both Patreon and YouTube and say, hey, you guys got questions? And I take those questions and I put them right here on the show.
We've got answers.
Sometimes.
Maybe, sometimes.
You never know.
Never know.
Okay, let's go to Brian's question. He's Corrado89 on YouTube. He says, I'm on the final stretch of my kitchen build with only the cabinet drawers left to finish.
Is this Mac Ramona?
No. I do not have a planer, so I used a local hardwood supplier to purchase and mill 4/4 soft maple to 5/8. After rough cutting to size, a few of the drawer pieces have a slight warp to them. Should I use these, or will they should I use these as they'll get pulled straight when I make the boxes, or should I buy a few additional boards that are flat? I'm concerned the boxes may not stay flat after assembly if I use what I have. They will be installed using Bloom undermount soft close drawer slides. So the one good thing about using mechanical hardware like this, and especially undermount hardware that's literally under the drawer, is I think you might have a little bit of flexibility here, so that if your drawer sides warp a little bit and kind of move around, the slides are still sort of in place and the drawer is just kind of living within the slides. So I actually think as long as the warping he's experiencing is fairly minor, I don't know that this is really something he needs to chase down for a kitchen cabinet drawer like that. That said, if it's really bugging you and you think it's going to be problematic, or if the warping is significant, then you might want to look into it. Ultimately, though, when you are making a drawer box, if it's a slight warp and you cut your bottom panel, assuming the bottom panel is plywood, you cut that bottom panel so it's nice and square and it's the exact dimension you need, you can use clamps to kind of just clamp that thing so it's nice and flat, and make sure you have glue in the groove on the drawer panel, the bottom panel, and that's going to actually act as kind of a clamp to hold everything in place. That might work, but again, we're only talking about minor amounts of warpage here. If it's extreme, you definitely want to get another piece of material.
Whoa, extreme.
Extreme bending.
Brian has a question. New bandsaw on a mobile base. Bolt it to the base. Adjust it, drop down legs, but they're still a little wobbly. Do you have any tips?
Most of my tools that are in a mobile base of any kind have some wobble to them. And especially if you've gone through the trouble of bolting it and you've got those little adjustable legs, I think this might just be a nature of the beast situation, or maybe a different mobile base that has a little bit more rigidity to it.
Is it the floor?
The thing is, go over to my drill press and touch it.
I don't want
It's all wobbly.
Okay.
It's what happens when you have a tall,
yeah, that makes sense.
where you don't have like a low center of gravity. You've got a tall tool in a fairly narrow mobile base. There's just too many moving parts and opportunities to move. He's bolted it to the mobile base, which is one area for movement. I just think it's the nature of the beast with these types of things. So I don't think it's something that's easily solved without putting a lot of effort into something that probably doesn't ultimately matter that much. A little bit of wobble isn't really going to kill you, unless you put your head under the bandsaw. Okay. This one I think I'm going to have to switch cameras for really quickly. It's not a big deal, but I got a little thing to show. J.L. Gert. You switched too soon?
I was a little too.
No, it's okay.
I'm trigger happy.
You could switch.
Okay, I'll switch.
J.L. Gert.
Look at those great ornaments.
Says, get him out of here. Oh, I just spilled my water. I noticed last week that most, if not all, the planes behind you look to be low angle. Is this your preference, and why? Looking to add more hand tools to my block plane and chisels. Well, think about that. If all of my hand tools behind me, my planes, are low angle and it wasn't my preference, that would be a weird situation. Why would I have them? Yeah, that's absolutely my preference. Personally, I like the low angle style because it has one primary function I think that's really, really cool, is that you could swap out the blades. Because it's low angle and your bevel is facing up, you can grind your bevel to different angles and get a different result in how it approaches the wood and what kind of grain you could deal with. So this, for instance, I have written on there 45 degrees. What's already in the plane, you might be able to see, is a 35. And this just allows me to swap these blades out depending on what I'm doing. And I find that form factor very forgiving and very fun. It makes this tool very versatile for me in my shop. And if you only have, a small selection of tools as like a hybrid woodworker like I am, you don't have every single hand plane ever made, you can make this guy very versatile and get a lot of jobs done with just one single plane.
Okay.
So yeah, I do have a strong preference for low angle planes.
So I think it was last week, we were having issues with the internet dropping the feed. And there was a question that came from Screamin' Swede about a board stretcher. And we thought he was joking, but he was actually very serious.
Okay.
So stretching, like putting the length back into the board, how to do that.
Okay.
So
you can't ask that question without context, though.
Right. So he was thinking I could use an epoxy pour to extend the board, so when complete I would have the Fremont epoxy Riverside table. But then Beasley said there's several ways that come to mind. One would be to cut a big chunk out of the middle of the board and mortise and tenon a contrasting or matching piece into it. Another might be to cut a lightning bolt in a few spots and fill with epoxy. Don't do it on the end, do it in the middle, as far as trying
to add material.
To it.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to do it really is to call it a design feature.
Yeah.
You know, so what he's talking about is almost like a breadboard end, but in the middle.
Right.
So you have a piece with the grain running the other way. You'd have to allow for wood movement to make that happen. I just don't have the context for this. When someone asks about this question, I can take it for granted sometimes because I just go get another board, or I find the board that's the proper length. But if someone's going through this trouble, there's a reason why, and whether it's cost, they don't want to buy more material, or it's precious material that they can't get more of, and they're trying to figure this out. But I would love to know more about the context of what he's making, so I can figure out if
he's in the guild community, so you are more than one. You can ask him here.
Oh, you want me to do work?
No, I know.
But yeah, I need more context. I'll go check out his.
But
question.
I saw, anytime I see board stretcher, I think that's a joke. But it I guess is used.
Well, when you word it that way,
yes,
you think the person.
Because there's no such thing as stretching a board.
It's a classic joke.
Yeah.
You know, go find me the board stretcher.
Right.
And
but no, there are things though that you can do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one
get your
thing,
length back.
And I don't know that it would apply here, but you know, it's like. It can work, especially in something like molding a scarf joint, where you cut a very long angle and another long angle on these two pieces, and then you kind of start to offset them this way. You lose width with something like that, but you gain a little bit in the length. But then you have, the idea is with a scarf joint, the angle is so shallow, or is it sharp? Either way, the angle is so aggressive that it almost gets passed off as a grain because it's in the same, close to the same direction as the grain. It doesn't look like a simple 90-degree perpendicular cut. So, but I don't know. I need context for that.
Screaming Swede, I saw that and I was like, oh, he wasn't joking. So I felt really bad. So
we just blew it off.
Well, and it didn't help that the feed cut out too. So.
The other thing we forgot to mention.
Yeah.
So last week, Nicole told you guys to channel. It wasn't Mateo's YouTube channel. She's like, oh, look at the graphics work he did.
It's different. I was like, I thought he did some custom art for
Apparently,
his avatar.
there's another Pizza Bite on YouTube, and it's like a channel that's been dead for ages.
Yeah.
That is not Mateo's channel.
That is not Mateo's. Yeah.
And it is like a kid's channel too.
Right.
Like it could very well have been. So, I mean, look, you guys are going to go there, and it's going to be a kid making goofy videos about dumb stuff. But, either way, I just wanted to clarify that that's not our son.
I will put a link
to his actual
channel.
His
actual channel, which is right there. He's really into a game called Lethal Company right now. So.
And Who's Your Daddy? Some of these games are just so insane.
We just got a super chat, and I just wanted to bump KKHK up to the top of the list.
He pronounces that.
Hi, I recently made a breakfast table out of rift sawn white oak. I used Osmo top coat and 2 coats, but it still seems to be absorbing staining from various food and liquids that get dropped on it. Any thoughts?
That's a bummer. Usually a couple coats of top oil is gonna be pretty good. I mean, maybe you just need to apply more. There are some woods that when it comes to a hard wax oil, they benefit from additional coats. One thing that I have done with top oil, and it's not necessarily like Osmo can be really difficult in terms of hammering down the application instructions, and different sources will tell you different things. One thing that I've had really good success with top oil specifically, is using their fine nap roller and rolling it on. So I'd be curious to know what application method you used, because if you did sort of a wipe on, wipe off, or buff off the excess, you're not having as much material sitting on the surface. So our coffee table, the gaming coffee table that's in the basement, has a coat that was applied with the roller. So that fine nap roller, you're really dragging the stuff out. You don't want to paint. You're just, it's the thing you wouldn't want to do. You would yell at somebody doing with a paintbrush or a paint roller is like, no, just dip back in, get more paint. It's not what you're doing here. You are applying a nice even coat across the surface, but you really want to drag out as much of the finish as possible, so it is truly a light coat. You don't want to really bathe it on there. If you do that, you are leaving a thicker layer on the surface, and I find that is very protective and very resistant. Is it a polyurethane? Nope. Is it going to work? Is it going to be as resistant to stains as something like Armor Seal? Absolutely not. But that's not why you went to this product. You went to this product because I would imagine you liked the environmental aspects of it, the safeness of it, the food safeness, and the repairability. It's a compromise, right? So it's not going to be perfect, but it should be better than what you're saying. I know our kids have spilled so much crap on that table, even markers on that table. And we've been able to get all that stuff off. So that might be my recommendation, is give it a nice light sanding, clean it up, get any oils or any contaminants off the surface, and then go back with their fine nap roller and see if that doesn't give you a more durable finish.
There you go. Or a tablecloth.
Or that. It is the holiday season. So throw a nice big red tablecloth on there and you're good to go. I got a question here from Kenneth.
Yep.
Kenneth Davis, I accidentally dropped WD-40 Specialist Silicone Quick Drying on my unfinished birch laminate plywood. That's a straight up bummer right there. I quickly wiped the spots with mineral spirits. After that dried, I sprayed 2 coats of shellac. I'm going to finish with Sherwin-Williams Extreme Bond Primer and top it off with Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane Enamel. Am I okay, or should I do something else in the area with the shellac? So what he's concerned about here, folks, is silicone and finishes don't play well together. Generally, if you get silicone contamination, you tend to get like fisheye and things like that, where finish just doesn't, or paint doesn't really want to bond, and it kind of creates these little bubble areas. It's terrible, and it's a nightmare if you get that stuff in your gun and you're spraying. So in this case, though, he has cleaned it, and then he coated it with shellac. Now, shellac can bind to just about everything, but what's interesting is it sounds like he kind of spot treated the area with shellac and not the entire thing. If this were a clear finish, I would be more concerned, because I would think that the area he hit with shellac is actually going to wind up looking a little bit different once he adds his top coat on top of it. I would have sprayed shellac over the entire panel, if possible, so that it all looks the same and behaves the same. So do I think the shellac will get rid of or block that silicone contamination? I think so. It's never 100%, but I think it will be good enough. But I would be a little bit concerned about the way your next layers are going to sit on top of a surface that's been sealed in one section but not in the rest, right? So depending on how it goes, though, apply a light coat of that primer, and maybe if you build enough coats of the primer, maybe it'll be totally fine. And I'm assuming on some of this stuff you might do a little bit of sanding between coats to get an even smoother finish. You'll see the problems develop right away if there are going to be problems. So.
I'm afraid to say this, because when I was talking about the feed cutting out, the feed cut out.
Oh, good.
So Dean said, wow, the feed cut out, right? You said the feed cut out.
How perfect.
We don't talk about that.
I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
I've talked about the fiber situation, how close we were to getting fiber. It's right there.
It's right there.
I could go dig and pull it up. I probably should.
Maybe you
just
should.
to mess with them,
Yeah.
To get them back here to fix something. Okay, we will soldier on.
Soldier on.
Richard says, I'm about to make a cribbage board with lots of 1/8-inch diameter holes. I have a jig with a self-centering drill, very similar to what I use to drill shelf pin holes. I seem to get random chip out on some holes while others are perfect. Since this will be a game board, attention will be close to the holes. Any tips to avoid this problem? Well, so one of the problems with this is your self-centering bit is just a straight twist drill bit. Ideally, when you're drilling holes and you want to make sure they're tear out free, you use something like either a Forstner bit, even a router bit can work, or a brad point bit. Can you flip to the other camera real quick? So what he's dealing with, I got the biggest one I have so you guys can see it really well, but like a self-centering bit like this has just a regular old twist bit, and you can get some tear out on that. What I wish we could find is a brad point bit inside one of these. Right? If you can get a brad point bit, you not only have that starting spur, but you tend to have these really nice blades here on the wings that do a really good job of severing the grain and give you a much cleaner result. So the problem is, at least that I know of, I don't think anybody makes a self-centering bit that actually contains brad point bits. So you're going to have to work around it. Couple suggestions, and I don't know that any of these are going to be great suggestions, but they might help. One would be blue tape. A lot of times if you're drilling, put a little masking tape on the surface and then do your drilling through the masking tape, and that tape tends to hold the fibers a little bit better, kind of stabilize everything, and maybe we'll get you a cleaner cut. But there's another thing I thought about that might help. It could be great, it could not work at all, I don't know. chat room, let me know if you tried something like this. But finish first. If you put the finish on there, as long as the drilling process isn't scratching your surface at all, if you put the finish on first, the finish will kind of bind the fibers and make them a little bit more durable. And then as you do your drilling, you're cutting through that finish layer right into the wood, and the finish, again, just kind of acts a little bit like a glue for the fibers. I'm hypothesizing that you might actually get better results if the wood is pre-finished. So those are my couple of suggestions, but I guarantee you there's a couple people who've made cribbage boards in the chat room who might be able to give you an even better suggestion.
Matthew said, replace the bit, I hit the wrong. Replace the bit in the self-centering bit. I'm sure the bit is removable.
Sometimes.
Is it?
Sometimes. That's a good question and a great suggestion. I don't know for sure, but you
There's
also...
a little screw right there.
There is a screw. There is also a length issue. You may have to cut the bit. That might be something that would work, because if it protrudes too much, it doesn't work that well. But that's a good lead.
Aha.
Try that.
Aha. Got a question here from Les. Curious to hear Mark's current stance on the fences on the miter stations. I know he has changed before.
Nothing's changed.
Last I remember hearing, it was a negative for him.
As far as like a true fence on a miter station, I feel the same way I felt before. It's totally unnecessary. Don't waste your time making a fence for the miter station. If you have an application that actually uses them, and I don't, then you know more than I do about your situation. But for most people who are using the miter saw to cut things to length, and they're not doing a bunch of crown molding and crazy stuff like that, the fence is only going to be a liability. It's only going to get in the way, and I can't really think of any good justification for it for the average typical woodworker. As far as stops, doing something embedded in the surface is far better, and then you don't have this fence system in the way. And now you've got, the catch-22 of it is, now that there's no fence there, it's a countertop, and countertops tend to get cluttered, so you have to know your own habits, and maybe the fence prevents it from getting cluttered. But as far as functionally speaking, there's just no need for additional vertical support beyond what the saw provides itself.
Michael just is finishing his gaming dining table with Rubio monocoat, and I'm starting to see the finish wear off where people's arms rest and other high traffic areas. Any advice for repairing Rubio? And Brian, will Rubio hold up in high temps on a wood trivet? Rubio's questions today.
Yeah, well, first of all, rubbing off, that's what Rubio is there to do. It's repairable, right? So
Can't you spot repair it?
That's the whole idea.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the reason that a lot of people would use it on furniture. So I would lightly sand the area, clean it up. You want to make sure you get any skin oils and crap off of there. And you should be able to just refinish that area. Apply some fresh Rubio, let it absorb, buff it out, and it should be good to go. Now, will it be absolutely invisible? Not necessarily, because part of the challenge with a spot repair, even if the finish will do it just fine, sometimes the wood has changed color over time, depending on the species, especially if it's like cherry, and walnut tends to get a little bit lighter over time. Cherry gets darker. You may have a color issue that will resolve with time, even if the finish looks just fine, right? So just keep that in mind, but ultimately, you have the finish that people want for the sake of repairability. Just add a little bit more, wipe off the excess. Rubio generally will not stick to the previously finished areas. It's only going to stick to the areas that need more finish. So that's how I would handle that. As for a trivet, Rubio holding up, no. High heat applications, Rubio is not going to do a damn thing for you.
I didn't think so.
It'll make it look finished. And if it gets real burnt because you put something too hot on there, you'll be able to go into in there with a little bit of sandpaper, remove any charring that we might have on the surface or staining, and reapply the Rubio. Again, Rubio is great in those, or any hard wax oil is great in these situations where wear and abuse is not if, it's when. So you know that you can make those repairs. So I think for a trivet, it's a perfectly fine choice, but it certainly isn't going to resist the heat.
It's going to, maintenance is
inevitable. Yeah, if maintenance is inevitable, use a finish that you can maintain without having like a nightmare refinishing process. All right, Jeffrey Smith.
Jeffrey!
Is polyurethane glue a good option for veneering and bent lamination? I understand PVA glues are too flexible, so in the past I've used something like Unibond 800. but I'm not crazy about its shelf life and the nasty chemicals. I only can find it in the half-gallon bottles, and I can't use that much before it goes wonky. The chemicals in the hardening agent are used to keep corpses looking good, so I'd like to stay away from that if possible. Good choice. So you do have alternatives these days. Do any of them work as well as classic urea formaldehyde and resin glues? I don't think so. But do you want to work with those chemicals? That's a personal choice. I personally don't. I will never have them in my shop unless it's an extreme situation and I have no choice.
What would be that situation?
A really hardcore bend, because what I'm going to tell you about some of these other glues is they work just fine. As long as you don't have like a crazy, you're just doing, think David Mark's experimentation level type bends.
Like the art piece that I got you, that you made with
them? Just something that like is doing all kinds of things that like, it's a heavy bend, because what the other safer glues will do is they tend to have a little bit more spring back. Gotcha. And there's a lot more pressure that joint is under and those glue joints are under. So you really want a really high rigidity glue to make that possible. So poly can work in some of these applications. I still wouldn't use it for a really high stress application, but the big concern with poly is the mess. Polyurethane glue foams up. So you've got a lot of cleanup to do. It's just not a fun glue to use in that case, but it will work. And I think you probably could get away with it with veneering too, but it wouldn't be my first choice because I certainly don't want polyurethane glue foaming out in a vacuum bag or something like that.
Nate says Philip Morley uses poly for his veneering.
Yeah, but again, we're talking about smaller applications. A lot of times Philip is doing a small panel, something like that, but we're not talking about bent lamination in large panels. So yes, it can work, but you have to think about the squeeze out and the foaming that's going to happen as a result. Epoxy is another choice that you could employ. It's going to be expensive.
It's a glue?
Yes, turns out it is a glue. So you can use epoxy as an option, but there are PVA style products like Unibond 1. You have cold press glue from Type Bond. I'm actually going to be using cold press glue for my mom's coffee bar whenever I get a chance to veneer those panels. No reason you can't use that for veneering. It works perfectly fine, and you're talking about a product with water cleanup. Unibond 1 and Type Bond's, I just said the name of it. Cold press glue. They are formulated to have a more rigid glue bond, so they will work for that, but they still, when it comes to bent lamination, they do have their limits. It's not something I would want to do a high stress joint on because they're going to get a lot more spring back on that joint. If you guys don't know what that is, when you do a bend in wood and you glue those sheets together, depending on the type of glue, depending on the wood, depending on the thickness of your laminations, it springs back after the glue up. So even though your form is one shape, it just kind of finds its equilibrium at a different angle. So sometimes, or a different curvature or radius. So you have to be aware of that. Some glues will prevent that more than others, but just be aware of it. And yeah, that's really about all I have to say about that.
If you're watching this and you're wondering the products that Mark's talking about, we have an Amazon store, amazon.com/shop/The Wood Whisperer, and I have a category called TWW Live, and I tend to just put everything, so like the cold press glue, I put that in there. So it's an easy way for you to kind of see and reference. I try to get back to the show notes, so if I haven't gotten the show notes, always go to the Amazon store and you'll probably find what he's talking about.
Yeah, and our site's a little bit borked right now, so we won't have the notes.
Oh yeah, so if you're trying
updated.
to order anything from the Backside Sandpaper or TWW store, you can't right now. We're having some challenges.
We have some problems.
We have some problems.
And we're in the process of trying to fix them.
And yeah,
All right, my last question I have here is from Brian. I know there are many opinions out there around wood selection featuring versus not featuring imperfections. Historically, I filled them with black epoxy to be included with the design and to stabilize them. Again, I met with a leg on a desk that I'm making that has a minor knot. How do you approach either hiding, featuring, or otherwise making a decision when it's time to remake a part versus pushing on with what you have? I'd rather have it enhance the piece than detract from it. My over-analytical self says, because I'm making this, or because I'm asking this, I should remake the part. But it did get me thinking. I think this is something that it really does depend on the piece. If let's say you have a clean cherry desk and there isn't a knot in sight, but your front left leg has a little knot, that's not ideal. Like it's definitely something where I would lean toward replacing. If it's too much of a pain in the butt, maybe joinery is already cut and you don't want to do that, there is absolutely no problem with you cutting a little patch and just kind of using the inlay technique to cut yourself a little patch that's roughly the shape of the knot, and then you cut your little insert piece that drops in, and then it all but disappears. You could certainly do something like that. Would I enhance it and draw attention to it? In that situation, no. There would have to be other knots somewhere in the piece. I think the thing when it comes to things like knots, when it comes to sapwood, purposeful is the key. If it looks like it was accidental, then it doesn't look great. If it looks like you did it on purpose and you were strategic about it, then it's okay. So in this case, I personally, and again, I don't know how big this is. You said it's a small knot or a minor knot. I don't know how minor. Like if it's just a little bit of a discolored knot, but that's probably fine. But if it's something that's like one of those really dark ones, or there's material missing and there's a big old hole there, so you're gonna have to fill it, that would bother me. So I would either be getting a new piece, or if the material is precious, or if it's too far along, I would be patching it, so that would essentially make that knot disappear.
Cancel. I don't want to ban Tim JB.
Don't
Sorry.
ban him. Well, depends on what he said.
David K says, where does one find the show notes? If you go back to last week's episode, if you're on YouTube, in the description, it's what makes the chapter markers. We're doing this live, so that's not happening until I do it.
Yeah, anywhere you find the show is where you find the show notes.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's got to be done after, because obviously we can't do that while it's live.
Yeah, unfortunately. I used to have somebody helping me make the show notes while we were recording,
Yeah, so
and then
the
I just
turnaround time was fast.
But I sit there and I have to watch us again. I have to watch this.
It's awful.
I have to live it, and then I have to watch it.
Well, that used to be
make
my
the
job,
show notes.
and I did that too many times.
Yeah, but I'm delayed on getting these lives on our main site
Because the site is messed up.
because the site is messed up too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you can find the show notes in the description.
Yes.
Yes, I have
I'm out of questions,
Well, I
so.
have lots.
Good.
Everybody's
I love
been
questions.
asking questions.
I love questions.
David D. I'm making a Mox and Vise, and
Cool.
there's a 6-inch crack at the end of one of the pieces that goes all the way through. Would you do a bow tie on the inside, outside, or all the way through? Or just fill it with epoxy?
I think a lot of times this comes down to how likely is this thing to continue to crack. So understanding the age of the piece, what it's been through, and if it's likely to continue. I don't think ultimately, if you're looking at like a kiln dried board that just happened to crack a little bit during drying and you can completely stabilize it with epoxy and be done with it, there's nothing wrong with doing that. If you suspect that this thing is going to have further movement, first of all, it's probably not the best choice for a Mox and Vise. You want something that's stabilized so it's not going to move. You might want to do some bow ties or something. But my gut is saying you're probably dealing with good quality stuff that just happens to have a crack and it's not likely to get any worse. Fill that sucker with epoxy and call it done. You could also do the bow ties and just show off a little bit, if you want to practice.
I like bow ties.
Maybe you want to practice a technique. You haven't done bow ties in a while or ever. It could be fun to do that on a piece of shop furniture that's not crucial that it be perfect, right? And if you do it, one side is probably fine. I don't think I would feel the need to do both sides or do it all the way through. That sounds excessive. But I would epoxy it with black epoxy so it looks like a little streak running through.
That would be kind of
Give
cool.
it some style.
Yeah. Apopina brought up something timely. The AI videos are pop now. AI tries woodworking. I wanted to bring up, we actually were contacted by a company wanting to license our videos for AI training. And I looked at that contract and I was like, no.
It was thick.
It was, yeah.
Thick and made me real nervous.
And so the companies are contacting the woodworkers on YouTube right now, and we'll see who bites.
Because how would you know?
Because it said up to, they always say up to $100,000, right?
Well, sure, yeah.
But I don't think that's, no.
It's a weird time.
It's a weird time right now.
But woodworking with AI, I know that's a thing.
That's why they want our videos, so they can train their
Yeah, but what they're asking for is they want to make content. They
Yeah.
want to make videos with it. I think what Apo is talking about is like probably using AI to make a project or design a project, I should say, and then you actually try to build it.
Oh,
right. I think that's what he's doing.
Okay, yeah. That would be kind of fun.
There's no reason you can't do that. I mean, I think that's a nifty idea. I mean, I was playing Call of Duty the other night, and I'm walking around this house, and it just had interesting furniture. So I've got a couple of screenshots of a couple pieces that I'm like, it's like a mid-century modern style in this place. And I'm like, I've never seen that. It's just an interesting choice. I don't know that I'll ever build it, but I took a picture of it. And obviously, I don't know that AI designed that,
I
but
love
certainly
video game furniture.
Like some video game designer said, all right, I'm going to find some inspiration. And they have the luxury to do something that may not be possible in reality.
Right.
But these looked very possible. So
Cowslock says, wait, you guys are not AI generated?
not yet.
Not yet.
Hopefully soon.
Oh my God.
I'm getting tired, guys.
Oh my God. We got a super chat from Project of Science.
Ooh, that's
Thank you for
right
the
up my
super
alley.
chat. Since you started as the Wood Whisperer and then started Wood Talk, will you eventually start Wood Yeller as your approach to crotchety old man? That's a great idea.
Yeah, most
Project
likely.
of Science.
Most likely, because I mean, as you start to lose your hearing,
whisper.
you got to speak up a little bit. Yeah, and then I get angry.
Yell.
Probably.
Yeah.
Wood yeller.
Wood
Wood
yeller.
Screamer.
Wood Screamer. I think there was a guy that.
There are people who take that screen name.
Yeah.
The Wood Yeller and the Wood Screamer. It's funny.
I got a question here.
Hey, thank you for the super
Yes,
chat,
that
though.
was really nice.
Project of Science.
Project of Science.
It's helping my son with his science project, and that's an experience. It's like trying to teach a cat complex
He might
calculus.
be watching right now. He tends to watch us. So, Mateo, keep
You
up
did
the
a good job.
Keep up the good work, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, but he's at that phase where he's got his own ideas, and
he's learning.
He needs to learn.
Like
yeah.
these are all new concepts. He's having finals for the first time.
We put
like
yeah,
all new.
it's a big deal.
It's huge.
We put eggs in vinegar, right,
Yeah.
to make the rubbery eggs. If you guys have seen that, so the experiment was to look at what other things that we consume that may actually start to degrade the calcium in the shell of an egg. So we looked at like coffee, Monster energy drink, lemon juice. It was
Diet
actually
Coke.
kind of fun. Diet Coke is pretty neat to see how many of them start to destroy that shell.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Acidic, right?
But yeah, with the implication being environmental concerns about oceans becoming more acidic over time and what that can do to ocean life.
Oh, it's a joke acronym for POS. I'm the guy who bought your fence.
Oh, okay. Nice.
POS,
Okay, I get it.
Got it. All right.
I get it.
Monty.
Hey, Monty.
Your green and green entry bench is one of my favorite projects you've done.
The one for Jason?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
And inspired
Thank you.
me to make a similar one. I'd like to use glued in plywood panels for adding rigidity.
Sure.
Is there a downside to doing that?
No.
No?
Just the fact that you got a plywood panel in there, as long as you like the look of the grain that you selected for your panel, zero problems with it. And if it adds structural integrity, you can't beat it. Especially if people are sitting on it, having the panels be an integral part of the assembly with the frame and panel design.
Wasn't it like
probably a good idea?
It was I thought it was designed to be sat on.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, we designed it knowing that people would sit on it. But what he's saying is, I think we use solid wood for everything.
Yeah, we did.
So when
Or
you
you
put
did.
the solid wood,
We did.
We did.
The collective we.
Sure, we did. So the solid wood doesn't get glued in. So it's got the frame around it, but it floats. What he's saying is if you use plywood for that, you glue it in, and now it just becomes stronger. It just becomes a more structurally durable creation. So I actually think it's a great idea. And, you know, it's a lot less work to take a 1/4-inch panel, plywood, and cut it to shape than the crap that I had to do.
Bill wants to know, there are mobile setups that have a pedal lift that when engaged you can move, and when disengaged the mobile unit sits down flat. Oh wait,
So he's talking about the mobile base thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sorry, I thought that was a question. It's just a statement.
Yeah, that goes back. I mean, I didn't say that exactly, but
Yeah.
I did say there might be other mobile bases that work differently that could work for his purposes.
Somebody had contacted us about the lift and lock thing that they went out of business.
Lift, lock, and roll.
Lift, lock, and roll.
Or something like that. Yeah, that was for the
lathe.
Yeah, lathe mobility, and that was a great system. It's a shame it didn't survive or someone didn't buy it.
Dean wants to know, just finished the Guild miter station. Where can I send photos of the final product? Should I post them over on Facebook?
You could do what you want, Dean. You could post them on
I
Facebook.
told Dean through the chat. So when you log into your Guild account, in the drop-down, there's gallery submission, and that's for the galleries on the website. If you want to share it with the community and potentially have me feature it in a Guild meeting, post it on the Facebook group.
Also, when you're at the end of the course, if you watch the last lesson, and then when you go back to your homepage, you know how the homepage shows you where you left off?
Yeah.
It'll show the last lesson, but then it's also saying, hey, you've reached the end. There usually is a link to submit your project to the gallery there as well.
Yeah. His mom, TWW mom, handles
Takes care of the
gallery stuff.
But even if you do put it on Facebook, we encourage you to submit on the Guild site.
Yeah.
Because that's how it gets into the Guild gallery,
Yes.
and that helps us, when other people come and look and see what you've built, your project may be the one that inspires them to do something different with theirs.
That's true. Dennis, Shannon had a fellow who made compressed lumber. Have you used compressed wood? Why or why not? Compressed.
I don't know what the hell that is.
Compressed? Like,
I know what compressed means. I don't know what
Compressed?
compressed wood is. Squeezed hard. Compressed, Mark. Thank you for womansplaining that.
compressed?
Dummy. Compressed. No, I don't know what compressed wood is.
Is it like composite wood?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. When I think of compressed wood, I think of
red.
MDF.
I'm a little red.
Yeah, she gets red. She shows.
Very thin-skinned.
I think of particle board. I think of MDF. Those are woods that have some, compression involved in the making of the panel. What he's talking about and something Shannon would be talking about sounds different. I don't know what compressed wood is.
Let me Google it. What is compressed wood?
It's a good thing to do live on the show.
I don't know. I'm sure that
So let me talk to
Dennis
Shannon.
will let me know.
Let me text Shannon and ask him what it is, and I'll get back to you guys.
All right. Jesus.
Here's one reason to answer your question why I wouldn't use it, because I don't know what it is and I don't know where to get it. Outside of that, I don't know.
Isn't it plywood? Isn't that what?
The fact that this is coming up makes me feel like it's a new thing. If all you're talking about is some sort of sheet good.
It's engineered, man-made wood product made of wood fibers, sawdust, wood particles, wood shavings.
Yeah, which I have used in the past, so that's why I'm thinking this is something different. And Shannon's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on in wood manufacturing.
Yeah.
So these are things that he would talk about before most people know they exist. So if you didn't already know, I don't listen to his show.
He doesn't listen to anybody.
The lumber industry update is fantastic. I don't listen to it, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Honestly, go to your whatever podcast app you use,
reader.
subscribe to Wood Talk first,
And
unsubscribe from Shop Talk Live, and then subscribe. Just kidding, they're great too.
You can have as many that you. That's the great thing about podcasts.
You can subscribe to as many as you want.
You don't have a limit.
It's not a competition.
No.
But subscribe to Lumber Industry Update, and you'll get some great information from my buddy Shannon.
Jesus wants to know, what, if any, sanding grit would you use after using a cabinet scraper on a piece?
Once it's scraped, as long as who cares?
So what?
So what? Who cares? As long as you've removed all the mill marks, you've achieved your goal of why you scraped in the first place. Whatever your finished grit is, if you want to stop at 220, hit it with a little bit of 220. Some people are fine just with a scraped surface. It might look just fine. Typically though, anytime I hand tool a surface, whether it's a hand plane or a scraper, I do like to just get a little bit more consistency on the surface with sandpaper. So whatever your finished grit is, if it's 180, 180. If it's 220, 220. Maybe even 320 you could use depending on what kind of finish you're applying.
Why not 400?
We'll go to 400. There is a point though. I think a hand scraped surface might not respond as well to 400.
Is that why it was so funny that you were handing out sandpaper at Handworks?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the joke, is these are people, generally speaking, who are not using sandpaper.
Right, they're using tools.
They will now, because they've tried backside sandpaper, and they know.
Well, they can't buy it right now.
They can't buy it right now.
Because the website's down.
You see what we're doing? We're trying to get a pent-up demand here. So, all 5 orders will come at once after it goes back live. But yes, that's the joke, is hand tool users often are not using sandpaper.
Right.
And ideally you wouldn't have to. I personally like to.
Hey, I forgot. If you have Disney Plus, I was thinking of Alex's meme that he made for you.
I can't believe we forgot to mention this.
I can't believe we forgot to mention this.
You're louder today for some reason.
Oh, sorry. I'm just
No,
loud.
it's okay. I'm just turning it down a little bit.
Well, I connected it to my necklace.
I think every week you vary the location.
Yeah, so I'm going to use my necklace as the consistent.
Okay.
Okay. If you have Disney Plus, go into Disney Plus under an adult account because it won't show up in a kid's account.
Why?
Because it's rated PG-13, I think.
Because of the community aspect? Like, well, we didn't watch any of the other videos. Like,
Yeah,
what
I don't
content?
know. Anyway,
Adult account.
so there's just a few days ago, they released the fan celebration of Moana. And if you've been with us for a while, you know that MARC made the Maui hook from Moana for Mateo when he was like 5. Was he 5 or 6?
A little bitty. He's
He was
probably
tiny.
about 5.
Disney reached, well, actually not Disney, but a company working with Disney.
On behalf of Disney.
On behalf of Disney.
We're 1 degree removed.
Yeah,
from
wanted
Disney.
to use, I guess they found the TikTok and were like, hey, we actually have this in
like an actual good
like
video.
a good video. So they took and compressed it down to about 2 minutes, and you can watch the Maui hook video on.
And they put their
on
own
Disney
music
Plus.
on
Yeah.
it, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool.
The new song that Maui sings in Moana 2 is
Yeah.
on there. So
It was super cool. I mean, the kids have seen my stuff on a big screen
Yeah.
since they were babies. That's not new. But seeing it in a different app
like
is
in
suddenly
Disney.
suddenly game changing.
Yes.
The two of them are telling their friends and
Yeah.
taking pictures to prove that it's in there. So
It was
anyway,
cute.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's something
we
that doesn't.
actually had a guild member tell us it happened because we didn't know.
Yeah, we knew it was might
Possible.
happen, but when these things happen, this is what I was about to say, that like these things don't usually happen to us. We get a lot of like ideas and companies and producers, you know,
Yeah.
who have
we
a
want to
signed,
do something with you.
yeah, they have a signed contracts, and a lot of times things just don't come to fruition. So this was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was really nice.
was very cool.
So if you have Disney Plus, go check it out. It's kind of neat.
Play
to
it
see.
for your kids and go, I know that guy.
I know that guy. There's also some fun other. We're episode 8, so there's.
Les
other
wants to
ones.
know if backside sandpaper comes in full sheets. You want it in full sheets?
That's a big.
I mean, you got to be able to cut it. That's not hard to do. But if you want custom sizes, I don't see any reason why we couldn't start to produce them in full sheets.
Yeah, John sees that's one big backside.
It's a big backside. But I mean, depending on what he's doing, maybe
Yeah.
he doesn't want the small form factor. He wants something a little bit bigger. Les, tell me a little bit more about your use case, and maybe we can consider doing that. We'd
Yeah.
have to find a way to, to ship them without damaging them.
Yeah.
We'd have to come up with like
A new shipping.
some kind of
yeah.
rigid shipping.
Chantel, anyone have the Origin 950 moisture meter?
Orion.
Orion. What did I say?
Origin.
Origin. Seeing if it's worth the money. Do you know what that is?
I don't know if I have the 950, but I do have one of the Wagner moisture meters.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And hard to say if it's worth it. I could say it works, and they are the best at it.
Wagner?
Yeah, so the one that I've used, it's come in handy the few times that I've actually needed it, and it's got a lot of features that I don't even use. So there are people who moisture content of the wood is an essential thing to know, whether they are drying
Holy
their own
crap,
lumber.
it's $600.
It's not cheap. That is the one that I have.
Woo!
But it's on the surface, it doesn't require pins and anything like that, and you can go at different depths depending on what you're measuring. It's a very capable tool. So I can't tell you if it's worth it because I don't know your use case. But if you are doing something where getting the moisture content of that wood and getting a fairly accurate number is crucial to what you do, that's a good one of those, a really good one of those.
Yeah. Oof. That's the kind of thing that I would put in camel and wait for the price to go down.
I don't know that it goes down very
No?
often, but look at the reviews
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's good at what it does,
Yeah.
and if you need that sort of thing, sometimes paying that little bit extra to not have
So
to
you
deal
have
with
this
BS.
one?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere in a drawer.
Oscar. Hey, Mark. I work in a 2-car shop and building my second rocker. I'm considering
Okay.
building a small assembly table, 36 inch by 48 inch.
Mm-hmm,
Is a small table worth it, or should I just suck it up and clean my bench when I need?
An extra work surface, if you have the space, I think is always worth it. I mean, look at, you guys don't do what I do, most of you, but the way I'm working this right now is we've got this live setup on my workbench. My assembly table is over there holding parts for a project that I'm waiting to get to. Having that extra space is huge, even in the context of just building furniture. Sometimes you want to assemble on a surface and get something in the clamps you're gluing up, but you need to move on to something else. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to still use your workbench? So I think having an extra assembly surface or a place to stage components and stage parts for your project is absolutely essential as long as you have the space. And if you can, think of it as something that maybe is mobile and try to make it so that it's the same height as other things in your shop, because then you could use it as an extension or an outfeed on a particular tool. So as long as you are smart about how you design it and how it works, it can be much more than just an assembly table, and this way it justifies the footprint that it takes up.
Joe wants to know, does Disney now have editorial control over Friday Live?
God, I hope so. If we had some Disney money in here.
They're going to blur out. If you watch the video, everything's blurred out.
Even Disney properties.
Well, no, it was Dovetails, not DuckTales.
Oh, it was, what's his name's shirt. Okay, that's right. But it was a joke on Dovetails.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, if anything, their lawyers probably didn't love that.
Probably not.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's a play on
We're on Disney's radar.
DuckTales logo. I'm surprised they did it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I realized watching that video. We got brands.
Yeah.
Like, we are not hesitant to have things like Ass Man license plate. Just there's brands everywhere.
By the way, that's Seinfeld. If you're not familiar why he has an Ass Man sign, it's a reference to an episode in Seinfeld.
I had the guys at St. Charles Hardwoods. And were like, hey, I've been meaning to ask you, what's the deal with the Ass Man license plate? Like, the guys were asking me, and I didn't know what to tell them. I'm like, come on, you don't watch Seinfeld?
No, they don't. You're old.
Well, call me Cosmo Kramer, the Ass Man.
And Apple says, so what are you going to do with all that Disney money now? There wasn't much, and Mateo's already spent it.
I gave half of it to my son because he's in the video, and it was just a thing where he's like, well, hey, I'm in it. Shouldn't I get some money? And I'm like...
He wanted to buy Christmas gifts for the family.
He wanted to spoil the rest of the family, and I said, you know what, buddy? You could have half of it.
Yeah.
Do you... It's the funny thing is
more than half of it, though.
This is one of those things too where you could very easily go, well, look, it's Disney. They're going to offer me that little for that, and I'm going to hold out for the big bucks. Well, you know what they do? They go to the next person who will say yes.
Bobby Duke.
Yeah, they go to Bobby Duke and they get his video. But it's $500 we got paid for that. I don't mind telling you guys. It wasn't much. The only thing, I would have rather get nothing for it if they would have said who we were.
Yeah, they didn't say who we were.
And I get it. It's Disney. This is not about us. It's about their brand and what they're promoting. But they didn't do anything to let people know who we are.
Yeah.
And that would have been really cool. But
you
guys know.
You know.
My kids know.
Yeah.
They loved it. They screamed when they saw it. It was fantastic.
Did you post that as a story of them screaming?
No, I did a story and I did a reel.
Oh. Go to Mark's Instagram if you want to see the kids' reaction to it.
It's adorable. It's loud.
So
hopefully
cute.
you don't have loud headphones in.
Robert Price did a nice super chat.
Hey,
Move
Robert.
over, Honda. It's Disney money now.
Well, look, it was $500. I lost $250 to Christmas gifts
$300
to my son. What?
He spent $300.
That's a dad face right there. So I only have $200 to work with here. How long can we stretch that out like the Honda money?
Yeah.
Thankfully, the Honda money was substantially more than $500.
Yeah, it was.
But in this economy, $200 in this economy?
Appo wanted to know, wouldn't compressed wood just swell up if it gets moisture?
Well, we need to know what the hell it is, Appo.
I would think
and we
it
don't
would.
yet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It might. You're right. I mean, if something is compressed, you would think that exposure to moisture would, but I don't know what this product is, and that's the problem. Mm-hmm. Let's talk more about it when we know more about it.
Joe says, you mean, what's the deal with the Ass Man?
What's the deal with that Ass Man license plate?
He got it on Amazon.
We're worried about you. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's not the most worrisome here. If you don't know Seinfeld, you're wondering why there's a middle-aged man
half
naked in his boxers on a lounge chair posing. That's a little more concerning.
Yeah, that's a little more. You need to fix the corner.
Yeah, look, I'm not worried about what people think.
Yeah.
Like, people know I'm a weirdo.
Cancel. Oops.
Whoa, what are you doing?
I clicked the button and then, yeah.
Yeah, they put that ban button right there.
All right, so
what else we got?
That's it.
Is that a show?
I think that was the show.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Is the rest of the day mine
You're
to
gonna,
use as I wish?
As you wish. You're going to go biking?
No, it's too cold.
It's too cold
Too
outside.
cold. You know what we are doing, though? At least if the weather holds up. Monday night in St. Charles,
Oh,
there is a holiday ride with
Yeah.
a local Trek store where we wrap as many lights as we can around our bikes, and we go for a ride like a bunch of a-holes.
do you have lights that are battery operated?
I bought some.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Jason and I think, are going to split them maybe because it comes with 4. I don't need 4.
Hey, if you want to meet this guy, go to the St. Charles
Well,
bike.
go to the Trek of O'Fallon Facebook page and look for the event thing. You could RSVP if you're local and you like riding bikes and you like wrapping Christmas lights around your bike like a ding dong.
All right.
Anything else?
No, we're getting closer to the holidays.
We are. Are we doing a show next week?
I thought we were.
It's not Christmas next
No,
week,
it's not
right?
Christmas.
It's the week after.
Yeah, the
Okay.
kids aren't even off school yet.
Oh, I guess I got to work then.
Yeah, we got to work. All
Okay,
right. Go check
well-
out Frank's courses.
Yeah, seriously, this is the last opportunity. The price is going to go up. You guys are going to get mad at yourselves for not doing this. Frank is genius, and the way he
it's really
approaches.
good.
Here's the thing with that table: all hand tools, 100% hand tools. So those of you who've been asking me to do that for a long time, and I keep saying no, you're going to like this. And Frank is a great guy to listen to. He's got a good voice. He's very calming. He's got a very calm. It's a relaxing video to watch and inspirational at the same time. So go check it out. twwguild.com. Go into the courses area and get that bundle.
And I will have show notes for this eventually
On YouTube.
by Monday.
Because the website's screwed
Yes,
up.
on
and
YouTube.
John may not be able to get
it'll
to it
be
today.
chapter markers.
Yeah.
So thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for watching. We hope you guys have a great weekend and stay happy, stay healthy. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.